Hello, everybody. My name is Andrew Columbro here from SAAVI Services for the Blind for one of our final episodes of our Meet the Blind series for this month's National Blind Awareness Month. Thanks for tuning in, and I'm joined alongside Megan Duwyene. Megan, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. To kick things off, what is your role at SAAVI?
I currently work with the academic department in Phoenix. So I work with the adult students who are either working to get their GED and go off to college.
Cool. And it says here also as well, you were a student. In fact, you're part of the first graduating class at our Phoenix site for SAAVI. And so maybe just talking about what was your experience like when you first got introduced to SAAVI and how you got involved, like how you got started.
So there was 15 of us who started in the Phoenix office June of 2012, and I think maybe by the time I graduated, it was maybe one other student who graduated the program and went off to college, and then um, I think maybe one other student got a job, and then me. So it was kind of a little bit staggered. We didn't all finish at the same time, but it was very different than it is now. Currently in the Phoenix office, we have 3 different suites. And when we first started, we just had one suite. So all of us 15 students, and I don't remember how many staff now, but we're all in just one suite. So, but we still kind of have the same kind of community, I guess you'd say, where everybody, when when we first started, all of us had lunch at the same time, staff and students. So we
Yeah.
kind of got to be a kind of a tight group in that situation. It's a little bit different now when we're in person, just because there's a lot more students and a lot more staff, so everybody's schedules sometimes are a little bit different. But I still see that camaraderie with current students still keeping those friendships even to when they leave their comprehensive services and go on to other things.
Yeah. And with that, what would you say? How has your perspective changed from like starting out as a student to now being an employee at SAAVI? What's changed and what stayed the same? I know you kind of like reiterated what you've just been talking about.
Um, I guess back then, I don't know. It's a good question. Let me think about it.
Yeah, no worries.
um, of course, I probably was a little bit more timid than I am now and stuff. So, being able to get confidence and has been probably one of the biggest things that from looking back then to where I'm at now.
Yeah, gotcha. And with that, it also I know that you're very creative and that you have actually created some artwork displayed in the Phoenix office. Maybe I know you have a family background with artists and get into like the creative side. So maybe just talk a little bit about that, how you got into it.
So both of my parents are artists, and we're Hopi from the Hopi Reservation here in Arizona. So I grew up. Some of my earliest memories is watching my parents do art. My dad was, when I was born, was actually going to school at Colorado State University, getting his bachelor's degree in fine arts. So being just exposed to that was to me just something natural to witness what my parents doing. So I grew up myself doing some art, doing pottery, then later on going into painting. There was a brief period though where I didn't do any of my art, just because my vision was getting worse.
Yeah.
I had a lot more usable vision when I was younger, to compared to now. So that was probably a good 5+ years I hadn't done anything. But when I started back up, it was because of an instructor at SAAVI who told me that I should actually continue doing it since I liked it so much. So she was a mobility instructor, and she encouraged me to create something for the Phoenix suites. So there's a picture in our health and wellness room that is both visual and tactile. So I used um, braille paper to cut out the words health and wellness. So if somebody who is totally blind could be able to fill it, but they're still in those same, block letters that print readers will be able to read. But then there's also some symbolism to it too. I created in it as I put there's 4 cardinal directions and there's 4 different colors that go with it. So I incorporated in that for like mobility, since we teach that and learn that at SAAVI. And then I also included the 15 students' handprints on the bottom of the painting to represent the first starting class, since we were the ones who kind of paved the way for the next group of students to come. So that's one painting I have there. And the other one I created when I was back in high school, and it's hanging in our kitchen, and it's an abstract painting.
Very cool.
And I've also done some art stuff with some of the students at SAAVI as a student and as an instructor. I did a paper making class with some of the SAAVI students, and then I've also taught origami, something that's kind of more tactile for people to feel.
Yeah, I've heard that you've created some beautiful origami. Is that like your favorite type of art, or what is?
Not necessarily. I don't necessarily have a favorite. I crochet, so that's not necessarily like another thing that I do. I guess I don't really have a particular thing that is like my favorite thing to do. The origami is just simple because you don't need much except for a piece of Xerox paper, and you can cut it down to what you need it to be. So it's probably just the more fast and convenient thing to do.
Yeah, gotcha. And with that, I think this about wraps up this year episode of SAAVI Services for the Blind for our Meet the Blind series. Megan, thank you so much for joining me, and thanks for your time and effort. I appreciate your insight, and it's been nice to meet you virtually.
Yep, no problem.
And for everybody watching, stay tuned for our last couple episodes of our Meet the Blind series on Facebook, and have a good rest of your day.